You can tilt it down a little bit.
All right, shalom. First off, give all praise to Yahweh Shem Yahshai. Double honors to the elders and apostles of GMS, and salutations to the elect brothers in his truth and sincerity. This is a GMS Nebraska sit down. We got another lesson for you brothers, to just get you caught up on everything that's going on, and Lord's will, the brothers are edified by it. So we're gonna start off with a scripture here in Matthew's, just to give you an overview. It's going to be about, because we all know that last year the military had their little drills or whatnot called Jade Helm 15. So this in the year 2016, they're not calling it Jade Helm. They're calling it by a different name, but it's pretty much the same exercise. So with that being said, we're going to get a couple of scriptures, then we're going to go into these articles.
This is Matthew chapter 24, verse 21. It says, "For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be."
And that's what they doing these military drills for, to set up for this time. They want to get everything in order so that when it is that time, they so-called, went through every scenario in their head and they had the upper hand. But they're not counting on, the prophets of the Lord, being here to shut that down. Yahweh Shem Yahshai coming back and putting an end to this madness. That's all I want to with that one. You can go ahead and get the other scripture.
2 Corinthians 21.
2 and 11.
2 and 11. This is the book of 2 Corinthians 2 and 11. It says, "Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, we are not ignorant of his devices."
That's right. You think that you're gonna get the advantage doing these drills, but the Lord's men see this. He put the spirit on us one way or another to get the information to expose you, to edify, the body, and have the knowledge for ourselves through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahshai to know what you're doing.
We brought that out last week. The Amos 3 and 6 gave his, service to prophets, the mysteries and all of that. Man.
The secrets, he reveals the secrets to the service of prophets. So, just a couple quick scriptures real quick. So we're going to dive into the meat of the lesson, which is the two articles. And then if your brothers got, comments or scriptures, bring them out.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Top?
Yeah.
Okay. This is just went right there. www.thecommonsenseshow.com. All right.
And before you start that, this is a really good website because he takes personal letters from the people who read his websites, and they give a lot of input on what's going on from their perspective. Because a lot of people, has like family in the military, in the Army, the Navy, or whatever branch of the military, and they relate to him what's going on, who in turn puts it out to, the world through the internet, which the prophets come into. So, that's all set up through the Lord. So, go ahead.
All right, it says UWEX 16,
which stands for Unconventional Warfare Exercise 2016. Like I said, last year was called Jade Helm 16. This year they changed the name, and it's going to get into all that. I don't want to jump too far.
15 or 16?
Jade Helm 15. Slot you. Go ahead.
All right, so we're going to shorten it, say UX.
Yeah.
UX 16 will dominate our headlines come mid-November at the latest. Okay. The title is "Don't be distracted by the election. This is your main danger."
Right. You know what I'm saying? This is the main thing that they don't want you to know about, because everything is Donald Trump. Hillary or Bernie. You know what I'm saying? It's all about the election this year. It's being pushed. Oh, they're rioting, or they're protesting this, or they're protesting that. But this is what's really gonna get you. So go ahead, brother.
All right, it says UX16 will dominate our headlines come mid-November at the latest. To some extent, the GOP primary, as important as it is serving as a distraction for a much serious situation that is unfolding in Texas. It involves preparation for mass FEMA camp incarcerations, the use of slave labor in the camps, and the engagement of rogue American military units identified as hostile by this current administration.
Now, we don't know whether it's going to affect the GOP or the election or the so-called election or whatnot, but it gave a scenario basically. They can't guarantee that. Go ahead.
This is the story. Says very few are paying attention. Said this is the story that will get no traction. Last fall, I wrote about Jade Helm 16 and how it was going to be a more dire continuation of Jade Helm 15. In late January, early February of 2016, I wrote with great specificity regarding emerging details of Jade Helm 16, now known as Unconventional Warfare Exercise 16. Very few took notice.
Yeah, because, basically, it's part two. Last year, Jade Helm 15, they announced it to the people, hey, we're doing these military drills. You probably won't even see us. The people came into the counties and they said we don't want it or whatnot. They're not doing that this year. They're just setting up the drills and going at it. And they already know what to expect because they ran their alpha testing last year. So, they set the bases last year with Jade Helm 15. So they got their data, so to speak. They know what to expect. So they can correct all their mistakes from last year and try to do the same thing and more this year without being detected and whatnot, and see if it goes off as a hitch. And, it could go live, or it could, be tested another round of testing like last year to even, improve on a technique. But either way it goes, this is still very important.
In the first week of February, I published several documents pertaining to UX16, including the following advertisement for role players, quote unquote, in this quote unquote drill.
Yeah, so it's basically talking about how they're putting out applications for people with military experience, preferably special forces, to come and be a part of these drills. Citizens or veterans. More specifically, people with military backgrounds, so that they can get the general public used to the sight of a military presence, around the cities and whatnot. Also, so they can, set up their drills or whatnot. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, go ahead.
Alright, it says, this is the next paragraph.
Read those places that they set them up at.
Okay.
You ain't gotta read the overview or whatnot, just these.
Alright, it says, 4G chief role players will need to be at the following locations at the following dates. It said Fort Bragg, North Carolina. That was between the 11th and 22nd of January this year. It says Camp Bullis, Texas, 21st through the 27th of March this year. San Antonio, Texas, the 28th through the 10th of May this year. Then it says two chief role players at these locations. Fort Bragg, North Carolina, the same as the other four chiefs. Camp Bullis, and then they got Davis, Nathan Air Force Base through the 10th and the 21st of April.
And that's in Arizona. So it's going throughout different states. So So, you know, it's not just concentrated in Texas or just one state, but, you know, they're still all around, and they're still, like I said, they're operating on a incognito basis. Yeah, go ahead.
Our next paragraph says independent media confirmation. 7 months after mentioning Jade Helm 16 by name and 6 weeks after publishing documents relating to UX16, Dabu 777 published this video yesterday highlighting the same documents as depicted in the following video.
And it shows a video from Dabu 7, which is, I went back after seeing that, and I went back and watched the video, and, you know, we might put it in post-production or give a link to it if you brothers want to watch it, but it's pretty much going over everything that we're going over now.
Next paragraph. Private UX16 eyewitness accounts have remained steady since January.
And like I said, this website is viewers, they write letters to the website giving their personal accounts, and it's just a couple personal accounts. And I'm going to have a brother read a couple of them because it's real relevant to what's going on.
Which ones you want me to read?
Yeah, go ahead and read the first one.
All right, it says, Dear Dave, thanks for your coverage last year of Jade Helm 15. Although I didn't realize it then, we have a lot to be afraid of when it comes to Jade 2 or UX, as they are calling the next phase of Jade Helm 15. I have a family member who is serving in special operations. We recently met with him for lunch, and he was as white as a ghost. He told us that he expected to extract domestic terrorists and take them to an impromptu detention facility. At the facility, they are expected to train foreign troops to take over the detention of the prisoners. This is what you wrote about last summer about the Army Reserves in Michigan. His best friend is training for guerrilla warfare inside of Texas. Is Jade H2 going to be what all of us were afraid was happening in Jade Helm 15?
Right, so he's saying, first account, that he got family members telling him what's going on. You know, and everything that we saying is true. They're practicing for these things. They're practicing for civil war. They're practicing for martial law. They're practicing for guerrilla warfare. You know, here stateside, not across seas or whatnot. You know, they're trying to bring in foreign troops to help with the concentration camps. They want to put you in a concentration camp. We're not crazy. You know, all these things are mentioned in the Bible. And, you know, through the power of Yahweh Shema Shai, the prophets are telling you what's going on. And then it's being backed up in real life.
To the staff of the Common Sense Show, my cousin is deployed in Army Special Ops at Fort Bragg. He is going to be expected to take part in guerrilla warfare drills against rogue military forces. After arriving at Fort Bragg, he was still permitted to leave the base. We live in Texas.
Hold on. Because it said rogue military forces. So that's other units that don't want to be down with that. That's, you know, because the military is going to turn against the American people. And those who are in the military who don't want to turn on the American people, the military is going to turn on them as well. So that's, you know what I'm saying, infighting.
It says, we live in Texas and drove to meet him. When we went to lunch, he had all of us leave our cell phones in the car, and we walked the block to eat dinner.
That's right. You know why? Because it's a lot of, you know, things out about these cell phones, like they might be a two-way microphone, or they can listen to your conversations even if you're not on the phone or whatnot, and that kind of backs it up, because he said, you know, they left all their phones in the car. He specifically told them to. So he knows the military has more technology than what they're letting on. And they're doing a lot more snooping than they're letting on.
Showed you that in Eagle Eye. The computer bitch picked up the voice patterns from the phone. It says, he said that they were beginning to receive briefings about taking on rogue military units in the guerrilla war scenario. He assumes they are American military units but they were not told that when he was presented with their newly created training specs. He has a role in this exercise, but I will not reveal the nature as we do not identify him.
You know, what other military would it be? Are they practicing for foreign militaries to be on American soil? If a foreign military was on American soil, they wouldn't be in a guerrilla warfare capacity, because they really wouldn't have, you know, the knowledge of the land and whatnot to do that, to be undercover, unless they were sleeper cells. But you can't really fight against a sleeper cell because you don't know who it is.
He said he is being moved from one base to another base that has not yet been identified. He suspects that it is in the area because their deployment gear remains the same. He told us that he feared the drill could go live for many reasons.
Like he said, you know, it's a drill right now, but if this happens or if that happens, or, you know, if a bomb goes off here or somebody says something there, you know, there's many different scenarios. The dollar could crash. Different scenarios could happen that will make this drill, this military drill, go live and martial law to be enacted. What's the next one? Let me see. Yeah, get the next one.
Alright, it says, hi Dave. I just had an opportunity to hear an interview with Mike Adams. When you spoke about the military drill soon to begin here in Texas, my ears pricked up. I live just a few miles down the road from Fort Hood. It is in Killeen, and I'm in La Paz, Texas. I am a nurse and work 10 to 6 at night in a local nursing home. This morning, another nurse informed me that about 1,000 soldiers from Fort Hood are being sent out of the area on an assignment. I asked her if she knew where they were going. She didn't have it. She didn't have any idea.
Oh, that's the wrong one. That's really not important. Go to the next one. Yeah, read that one.
All right. This is it says, Dear Dave, I'm going to have to be a bit vague in this email in order to protect the identity of the person that I got the following information from very recently. Governor Abbott has been having local discussions with certain people regarding the idea that Texas will secede from the Union. It is 1861 all over again. I also know that our Texas governor has had discussions with several other governors about the same topic.
And if they secede from the Union, that's going to cause a civil war, which would, you know what I'm saying, then enact martial law and so on and so forth. You know, that's the actual government, or the actual governor of Texas, you know, pushing the idea or even discussing the idea with other leaders. I believe it's like one more main paragraph. Yeah, you can read. What does that all mean?
All right. It says, what does it all mean? The establishment of the GOP would rather destroy their own party than give up the gravy train brought to them through the free trade agreements. If it appears that Trump will be the next president, the plug will undoubtedly be pulled. The GOP leadership will be damned if they are going to give up the strange hold on this country.
But you know, and
stranglehold on this country.
We all know that, you know, whoever the elites want to have that presidency is going to get the presidency. You know, so what they're basically doing, and they say it on CNN and they say it on Fox and all that other BS. What they're doing is they're saying, if Trump gets the nomination, which I believe he's like one state away from getting enough delegates, so to speak, for being a Republican nominee. But they said if he gets to be the nominee, the Republicans themselves are going to do everything in their power to try to get another candidate in there to knock him off so that he's not the representative of the Republican Party, or he's not the president, basically. Go ahead.
It says they will not only ruin the Republican Party, they will collapse the country. I think a massive false flag upon the Republican convention remains a real possibility. This will leave the GOP in a mess, and from two scenarios emerge as distinct possibilities. Obama will declare martial law and never leave office, and there will be no November election. Hillary Clinton will be championed by the media as a unifying force, and she will assume control of the presidency.
Yeah, and which those are two very liable outcomes that could happen, you know, this coming fall. But we don't know. We just have to sit back and watch. Lord willing, something does pop off to get the ball rolling, so, you know, we can get the fuck up out of here. But that's what we want to do. We tired of this place. You know, we want to see Jade Helm 16 and UX 16 pop off. This is what we want. We want them to get all the information that they need, you know, to start martial law and in these internment camps and so on and so forth. Is there a little bit below that? Or is that just... Okay, that's the comments. Go to the other one.
Alright, this is from the same website. It says Jade Helm 16 is now rehearsing for Civil War. I'll let you
start there.
To those with an untrained eye, Jade Helm 16 or Unconventional Warfare Exercise 16 does not seem to present anything that we should be concerned about, as it is only a repeat of his predecessor, Jade Helm 15. Lessons learned. What do we learn from Jade Helm 15?
Well, let me say this first. This particular article was before the one that we just read. I believe this one is from February 8th, and this one, the other one, was from like March 16th or something like that, I believe. March 17th. So, go ahead.
Lessons learned. What do we learn from Jade Helm 15? The answer is simple. We learned that Jade Helm 15 was about moving men and material to key positions in the country where their resources could be better utilized in the following 3 ways.
Yeah, because what happened last year, you had a lot of military movement. They were moving their SUVs and the tanks, and the troops was everywhere. You know, you had all the Walmarts closing down and all that. They were staging a bunch of areas and whatnot. It was practice for martial law. And now, you know, that you got everything set up, you really don't have to do all that this year. You just have to perfect your technique, so to speak.
It says descendant extraction conducted by Special Operation Forces.
Right, dissident extraction is basically them picking niggas up and putting them in concentration camps.
Martial law enforcement and the mass internment of those deemed to be unsuitable to be left unsupervised. Therefore,
read that one more time.
It says martial law enforcement and the mass internment of those deemed to be unsuitable to be left unsupervised.
Them unsuitable to be left unsupervised. We're talking about grown ass men here that are unsuitable to be left unsupervised. That's the government cracking down on all your rights and freedoms. And it says mass internment. Them internment camps is the concentration camps. It's this is an interchangeable word.
Therefore, we saw the springing up of structures all across America that could serve as a detention facility. Case in point, with Simon Properties, the largest owner of malls and shopping centers in North America.
And remember, brother, we did the sit down. Remember when we went out to the mall?
Yep.
You know, so they got it here in Omaha. You know, that was all a big part of it.
It says signed an agreement to allow DHS to use their facilities for any purpose during an emergency. Do you remember that 9 months ago we started to take notice of the following?
And it's just basically showing pictures of those empty malls. And, you know, you can go back and you can check out the video that we did back then. Or, you know, you can actually look up Simon Properties and look up the Ghost Malls of America.
Is number 3, providing a cover for the preparation and mobilization which would be needed for the World War III. Subsequently, we witnessed massive movement of men and material around the country during Jade Helm 15.
So like I said, Jade Helm 15 was basically a dry run and staging. Now that everything's pretty much already staged and they want to do more testing, they can do it as covertly as they want to, and on like private property and whatnot, and you know the masses won't know as much and won't see as much. Yeah.
All right. J16 is more covert and more encompassing than Jade Helm 15. According to reports, UX 16 will be even more covert than Jade Helm 15. People like Gary Franchi and myself have learned that Jade Helm 16 forces will be operating on privately owned properties in the county and at Camp Swift. Unconfirmed reports are circulating that the U.S. government made cash payments to the owners of the land, which allowed them to train on private property. The rumors are hard not to believe because I reported last spring that each county would participate in J15 was paid a nuisance fee of $150,000.
So they paying off the most corruptible people, which are politicians, you know, to use their jurisdiction pretty much. Which we all know, you know, those dirty, rotten politicians that take a bribe or take a payoff for anything.
Bastrop County Judge Paul Pape told the press he is in full support of the next phase of military operations.
That's a judge. That's a judge in the county saying that he's all for, you know, these military operations. And it's going to get even deeper what he says. Go ahead.
This particular Bastrop County judge and traitor to his own community, Paul Pape, told the media that he is in full support of the next phase of Jade Helm military operations. Gee, Judge, if Jade Helm is so great, then why do you, Salakia, if Jade Helm is so great, then why do you only, maybe messing up on me.
Yeah.
Why do you only and the county commissioners know the details? Why was this done in secret? Here's Gary Franchi's brief report on the reemergence of menacing Jade Helm activities in Bastrop County.
And it's basically saying everything that was in that paragraph. There was something in there. Can you go up? Let me see. Because, okay, well, they didn't say it in there. But if you watch the video, that Judge Paul Pape, he said that it's a good thing that they changed the name to UX 16 opposed to having that Jade Helm name still attached to it, because it's less likely for people to hear about it and spread the news on social media and whatnot. It'll keep it to a lower profile. And that's coming from the judge. Go ahead to the next portion.
What lies in the immediate future for Jade Helm 16, aka UX? I have received 3 very similar emails in the past 4 weeks. I'll just get to the emails. Start with this one.
Yeah.
Dear Dave, thanks for the coverage last year of Jade Helm 15. I think we already read this one, right? Yeah, we read this one on the other one. We were talking about to extract domestic terrorists and take impromptu detention.
Yeah, okay. It was.
Are these the same? Yeah, they're the same letter.
Okay, there was one that's. Go ahead. Keep scrolling. Hold up, go back up. Because they talk about the martial law, or not the martial law, the forced labor. Okay, yeah, it was on the other one. This little part that we had skipped over. So we're gonna jump back to the previous article and just read a section from that, and then we'll end it. And if anybody else got something to say or some scriptures, you know what I'm saying, we can bring it out through that.
So read the bold here.
Con.
All right, it says
this is from matter of fact, there was a document that they had put out. What's on here? That's where I got the link from. Okay, there was a document that was put out that the brother's going to read, Appendix J, FM 3-39, which I went and looked that up. It's basically the law that was passed back in February 2010 about internment and resettlement operations, and I got the full law or whatever. It's like 326 pages, so Lord's will, I'll go through and I get the meat out of that, and Lord's will, like I said, I can, do like an overview or sit down on that later on, but this is one aspect of it. So you can start right there.
It says commanders must organize and manage detainees in such a manner as to permit the proper and ready employment of each detainee.
Right, so a detainee is basically a prisoner. So if you're in jail, then, what do you need employment for? Especially if you're a detainee that didn't go